Hi everyone, you're welcome to my YouTube channel, Asperia Wogabaga. Now in today's video, I want to encourage you. Maybe you're going through a tough time, maybe you have a problem that is too big, maybe you are facing a lot of challenges like fear, maybe you are under intimidation, and maybe you're about to do a wrong thing, maybe make a wrong decision. This is a video for you. You are welcome. Sit, settle, subscribe, like this video, share it with your friends, and let's get right in. So we are going to go into the Bible and we are going to open the book of Daniel, Daniel chapter 3. Now we all know the story in the book of Daniel. If you have been reading the Bible or if you have been going to church, you've heard about Daniel. But today I want us to look about the three boys, Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego. And these were Daniel's colleagues, and yeah, they also have a great story that we can learn something from. And so, when you read Daniel chapter 3, there was a king, and his name was Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar was a very, very tough, hostile king that he made a decision. If he made a decision, no one would change it. And according to their laws, if a king signed on anything, nothing was supposed to be changed. If he said you should be killed, you were killed instantly, even if it was his wife. So it was so terrible. And so in chapter 3, Nebuchadnezzar set up an image, and the people were supposed to worship that image, and everyone who disobeyed the king's commandment and refused to worship the image that Nebuchadnezzar had set was supposed to be put to death. Now, the three boys, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they were taken to Babylon as captives. And so, in this land, they were foreigners. And so, these people, they were worshipping idols, and those boys were worshipping the true God. And so, it was not in them to bow down before any man, before any image, before any statue, before anything except the only God. And when you continue reading in verse 8 of chapter 3, you see that it says, "Wherefore at that time certain Chaldeans came near and accused the Jews." Now a group of men, they came to the king and they accused Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego that they were not worshipping the idols. And the king was very angry because he said that everyone, whether you were young, old, in which language, in every nation, you were supposed to bow before the image that he said. And so they accused them and they said there is a group of Jews that do not worship the image. And when you continue reading in verse 13, you see, "And then Nebuchadnezzar, in his rage and fury, commanded to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And then they brought these men before the king." Now, when they brought Shadrach and Meshach and Abednego, they wanted to ask him, the king wanted to ask them whether it was true they were not worshipping the image. And they continued, the Bible continues to say that Nebuchadnezzar spake and said unto them, "Is it true, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? Don't ye serve my gods, nor worship the golden image which I have set up?" He was so angry because he had set up this image that every person will worship it. Remember, these boys had determined in their hearts that they would not defile themselves. And so when you continue reading, you see that now he commands them that if they had any sound of any musical instruments, they were supposed to bow down in his presence and worship that image. And in 16, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, "O Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer thee in this matter. If it be so, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace. He will deliver us out of thine hand, O king." And this answer that these boys gave the king is so powerful. It shows that they were bold. to face their challenges, to face their fears, to face the intimidation, to face even this hard king that had promised to kill everyone who disobeyed his word. Now I'm speaking to you this time that if maybe you're going through a tough time and you're about to make a wrong decision because you're fearing maybe your boss, you're fearing your partner, you're fearing everyone you're fearing in your life. Look at these boys. They were having a matter that was between death and life. They would either choose to live or die, but they chose to be burnt because they knew that their God was able to deliver them. When you continue reading this chapter, you see that Nebuchadnezzar commanded that they should heat the fire 7 times to be hotter than it was before. And he commanded these strong men in verse 23, they bound Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and they cast them into the burning fiery furnace. And you can imagine the fears that these men had. I knew they could have fear because human part of them was still alive. Just like us today, we have fears. Fears of what people say, fears of what they fear. But sometimes we have to be clinging to God in a way that we cannot be moved by anyone, by any form of intimidation. And look, when they cast them into the fire, in verse 24, the Bible says, then Nebuchadnezzar the king was astonished and rose up in haste and spake and said unto his counselors, did we cast 3 men bound into the fire? Did we cast 3 men? They were bound into the fire? And the people were like, yes, we did. And then he said unto them, and then he answered and said unto them that I see 4 men loose and walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no heart. And the form of the fourth is like the Son of God. Now Nebuchadnezzar was astonished. At first he said that who is that God that can deliver these boys from Nebuchadnezzar's hand? And at this point he's saying, I see 4 men, yet they cast their 3. I see 4, and the form of the fourth man was like that of the Son of God. Can you imagine? Now, the presence of God in your life does not mean that challenges will not come. These men were trusting and clinging on God, but still the challenge came, and God wanted to test their faith whether they could depend on Him. And when they chose to depend on Him, He moved together with them. Now, God is not just going to hear your prayer, He's not just going to take you out of that fire or that fear or that problem. He's going to join you in that problem, and you're going to walk together until you're out of that fire. God will never forsake His own children. He promised that in His word, that I will never leave you or forsake you. And that word is very true. That word works for those who only choose to trust in the Lord. If these people try to compromise, probably God wouldn't work for them. But they stood on their truth, they stood and had faith in God, and that is how they were delivered. Maybe you're going through a tough time and you're looking around, you feel like forging, you feel like doing this, you feel like lying, you feel like, committing a sin. Don't. Look to God. Say the truth. And I know that it will set you free. These men said the truth and they assured the king that they were not going to compromise. And He, God Almighty, stood for them and fought for them. And when you continue reading, you see that and Nebuchadnezzar came near and called them, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, you servants of the Most High God, come out! He was astonished. At the end, his tongue confessed that God is the God of all gods. He is the King of all kings. But at first, he was intimidating them with fear. Who is that God? Who can deliver? Because in his mind, in his small mind, he thought that God is limited. God is not limited. Even inside fire, He's going to come. Even inside the deep ocean, He's going to come. Even in that problem, in that sickness, in that tough marriage that you're in, God is not limited. He can come through and He will help you. So I just wanted to encourage you this time that it is good to trust in the Lord, to give all. Yes, it's not going to be easy. Sometimes you're forced, to compromise. You're forced to do this. But when you look unto God and you choose to trust Him and put your faith in Him, He's going to come through for you. And now you can't trust God if you have not given your life to Him. It is very hard to trust a stranger, a man that you don't know, a man that you have never considered or you have never heard about in your life. This is a time that you would need to consider submitting your life to Jesus Christ. And if that is so, give a like, write a comment, and I will do a video about how to do that. I love you so much. If you haven't subscribed, continue subscribing and turn on the bell so that you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. I love you so much. Bye.